Unmasking the Zodiac Killer, a decades-long mystery. The Zodiac Killer is one of the most infamous and enigmatic serial killers in American history. Operating in Northern California during the late 1960s and early 1970s, the Zodiac Killer left a trail of unsolved murders and cryptic messages that have baffled law enforcement and amateur sleuths alike for decades. In this essay, we will explore the chilling crimes attributed to the Zodiac Killer, the various suspects who have been investigated, and the enduring mystery surrounding the killer's true identity. The Reign of Terror begins. The first confirmed attack by the Zodiac Killer occurred on December 20, 1968, near Vallejo, California. Two high school students, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, were sitting in a parked car on a remote road when they were approached by an unknown assailant. The killer shot both victims, killing them before fleeing the scene. This double murder marked the beginning of the Zodiac's reign of terror. Over the next several years, the Zodiac Killer committed a series of gruesome attacks that struck fear into the hearts of Northern Californians. He typically targeted young couples in isolated areas, using a .22 caliber pistol to carry out his brutal crimes. His victims included Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, who were stabbed repeatedly near Lake Berryessa in September 1969, and Paul Stein, a cab driver who was shot to death in San Francisco in October 1969. What set the Zodiac Killer apart from other serial killers was his penchant for taunting law enforcement and the media. He sent a series of cryptic letters to newspapers, including the San Francisco Chronicle, in which he claimed responsibility for the murders and provided details that only the killer could have known. These letters often included complex ciphers that challenged codebreakers and amateur sleuths to decipher his messages. One of the most infamous ciphers sent by the Zodiac Killer, known as the 340 cipher, remained unsolved for over 50 years until it was cracked by a team of codebreakers in December 2020. The decrypted message, however, did not provide any conclusive information about the killer's identity, leaving investigators with more questions than answers. The pursuit of justice. The hunt for the Zodiac Killer became a top priority for law enforcement agencies in California, with multiple jurisdictions collaborating on the case. Despite intensive investigations, the killer managed to elude capture and continued to taunt authorities with his letters. One of the most significant breakthroughs in the case came in 1969 when a man claiming to be the Zodiac Killer called into a local television talk show and spoke with attorney Melvin Belli. During the conversation, the caller provided details about the murders that had not been made public, lending credibility to his claims. Belli, hoping to establish a rapport with the killer, agreed to meet him in person. However, the meeting never took place, and the caller's true identity remained a mystery. The Zodiac Killer's letters continued to arrive at newspapers, each containing disturbing messages and threats. In one letter, he referred to himself as Satan, and claimed that his victims would become his slaves in the afterlife. The letters also included a cipher that he challenged readers to solve, further fueling public interest in the case. Despite the efforts of law enforcement and the intense media coverage, the Zodiac Killer managed to vanish into obscurity. His last confirmed communication occurred in 1974 when he sent a letter to the San Francisco Chronicle. After that, the trail went cold, and the killer's identity remained unknown. The suspects and theories. Over the years, numerous suspects have been proposed as potential candidates for the identity of the Zodiac Killer. Some of these individuals have been investigated more thoroughly than others, but none have been definitively linked to the crimes. Here are a few of the most notable suspects. Perhaps the most infamous Zodiac suspect, Alan was a convicted child molester who died in 1992. He came to the attention of law enforcement due to his resemblance to a composite sketch of the killer and his possession of a Zodiac watch similar to one described by a survivor. Despite circumstantial evidence, including a tip from a family member, DNA testing in 2002 failed to conclusively link Alan to the crime scenes. A former journalist, Gaikowski was investigated by some amateur sleuths who believed he matched the profile of the Zodiac Killer. However, there is no concrete evidence linking him to the crimes, and he passed away in 2004. Cain was a convicted rapist who lived in the San Francisco Bay Area during the time of the murders. He was proposed as a suspect due to similarities between his handwriting and the Zodiac's letters. However, there is no definitive proof connecting him to the crimes. Gary Francis Post, also known as the Gypsy Hill Killer, was a serial rapist and murderer active in California during the same period as the Zodiac Killer. Some investigators have suggested a connection between the two, but the evidence is inconclusive. Unabomber Ted Kaczynski. Some have speculated that Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, could have been the Zodiac Killer due to similarities in their writing styles and the timing of their respective crimes. However, this theory lacks concrete evidence. It's important to note that the absence of definitive evidence linking any of these suspects to the Zodiac Killer leaves room for continued speculation and debate. The true identity of the killer remains an enduring mystery. Theories and speculations. The mystery of the Zodiac Killer has spawned countless theories and speculations over the years. Some believe that the killer may have had military training, given his proficiency with firearms and tactics. Others suggest that he may have been a loner or a drifter who was able to blend into society without attracting suspicion. The use of ciphers and cryptic messages has led some to speculate that the Zodiac Killer may have had a background in cryptography or a fascination with puzzles. One theory posits that the Zodiac Killer may have faked his own death or simply stopped killing, which would explain his disappearance from the public eye. This theory suggests that he may have continued to live a relatively normal life under a new identity, evading capture. Another theory is that the killer may have been incarcerated for an unrelated crime, which would explain the sudden halt in his murder spree. Some have proposed that he could have been committed to a mental institution or died of natural causes without his true identity ever being revealed. The cryptic nature of the Zodiac Killer's letters and ciphers has also led to speculation about his motives. Some believe that he derived pleasure from the fear and attention generated by his crimes and correspondence, while others suggest that he may have had a deeper, more complex motive related to his choice of victims or the content of his messages. The legacy of the Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer's legacy extends far beyond the crimes he committed. His ability to elude capture and maintain a sense of mystery has fascinated true crime enthusiasts, amateur sleuths, and professional investigators alike. The case has inspired numerous books, documentaries, movies, and television shows, ensuring that the story of the Zodiac Killer will endure for generations to come. One of the most enduring aspects of the case is the debate over the authenticity and meaning of the Zodiac's letters and ciphers. Amateur codebreakers and cryptographers continue